Have you ever heard the phrase multi-channel marketing? Or have you ever been followed around the internet by a company and wondered how they're doing that just because you clicked on one of their ads or maybe visited their website? Well, I had been hearing this phrase for a really long time now, a few years, and so about 12 months ago, I decided to investigate further and see what this was all about and how to do it. After diving into the material and really understanding what it takes to build a multi-channel marketing system, and also after observing over the last 24 months kind of what's been going on in our world and our economy, in my opinion, I started to see the writing on the wall that the companies that survive and thrive in 2024 and beyond, it is going to be a requirement that they start to build out and perfect their own multi-channel marketing or lead generation system of their own. It's what I've started transferring all of my clients over to as far as approach-wise, and it's what I've also transferred all of my own lead gen assets that I rent out to as well. So to help illustrate this, I want to share with you a story about a guy who reached out to me on social media recently, AKA one of the channels of my multi-channel marketing system for myself. And he basically told me that, in his service, his local service-based company, all of the calls and all of the leads have seemed to dry up. And so we hopped on a Zoom call. I looked at what he has built out so far and where he's lacking. And we found out that he'd be a perfect fit for this multi-channel lead generation strategy that we have. And so this video is going to show you step by step how you can build out a multi-channel lead generation strategy for your clients or your own business.
I'm on my way to go quit my job right now.
All right, guys, so as I mentioned before the intro, I'm gonna walk you through how to set up this multi-channel lead generation strategy like I did for one of my clients. Now, to kind of set the stage and give you a little bit more context before we do that, this guy reached out to me again on one of my channels of social media, and he basically just said, look, the calls have dried up, the leads have dried up, and I don't have anything, right? And so I asked this guy, I said, well, is it seasonal based? Because, as we're in the holiday season and the beginning of the new year and everything, like call volume seems to drop across all of my, companies that I either manage or my own lead gen assets. And he said, well, I always expect a little bit of call volume drop, but this has been crazy, right? And he's not the only one either. I've probably talked to maybe 10 to 15 clients that we've signed over the last few months that this exact same thing is happening to. So again, going back to what I said before the intro is that in my opinion, you are not going to be able to thrive as a company if you do not have a multi-channel lead generation system set up for you and your company, okay? And the reason I say that is because unfortunately a lot of companies and a lot of business owners, they talk to somebody who says, oh, I can run Facebook ads for you, or oh, I can run Google ads for you, or I can run TikTok ads for you, I can do SEO, I can do this or that. And they sell these business owners on doing the one thing, and they paint it in a light that says this one thing is going to be the thing that's going to solve all your problems, right? Because that's what sells, right? But that is not the case, okay? Just point blank, it's not the case anymore. What it is it's a way to set up Google ads and Facebook ads and the SEO on your website and your Google business profile and doing organic content and doing it in a way where it all culminates and comes together to work to where you don't have all of your eggs in one basket, because if that basket falls, all the eggs crack, right? It's a way to diversify where your leads and calls and customers are coming from, and simultaneously building a better brand awareness and better brand presence for you and your company, so you become the trusted authority in whatever industry that you're in. And if you're a local company, which I deal primarily with, in the area that you live. A lot of the things that I share with you guys are going to be very technical in nature, but just remember that if it gets overwhelming, keep your eye on the prize, which is more leads, more calls are going to come into my business, okay? That's where we're going, but I'm gonna show you the very, the underneath of the iceberg of all the layers that go into setting something like this up, so that you can be sitting there and get a couple of leads from Facebook, get a couple leads from Google, get a couple leads from your maps listing, get a couple leads from your website, right? And you don't have to depend on just one at a time. All that being said, guys, let's go ahead and dive in and show you how to do this. All right, guys, so when we sit down at the computer to start the process, we want to get a good baseline of where we are at. And so if you don't have a good process to give yourself an audit, and honestly, that audit might be, well, I don't have anything. So you might be starting from absolutely zero. But in this client's case, we did have a website built out that another company had worked on and built out for him. They were running Facebook ads at the time that a separate company was running for. So I want to run you through some of the different platforms that I use to conduct an audit. So jumping over here to the screen, when doing an audit, I like to look at two different assets first, the organic assets and then the paid assets, okay? And when it comes to generating this multi-channel lead gen system, we're going to roll it out in phases depending on the needs of the client or the business, right? So first up on the organic assets is the website. So this is our website here. They are a tree service company in a very competitive market. And so it's going to take a lot of work to be able to do this, but I want to see, okay, does this existing company that's been doing this work for my client know what they're doing when it comes to on-page and off-page SEO, those sorts of things. So what I do is I actually take the URL and I put it into a website called SEMrush. This is a tool that we use to analyze and give us a domain overview of what's going on here. So you can see we had 27 search traffic results in the last month. And then if you scroll down here, you can see the top organic keywords that you are ranking for. If you click view details, you can actually see a breakdown of which keyword search terms led to the traffic that you received in that last month. You can also see the volume that people are searching for those keyword search terms, and also the keyword difficulty, which is basically just a measure of how difficult it might be to rank your own website for those things, which is something that of course is going to be a major part of the strategy. Now, when it comes to off-page elements, what I like to do is I like to use Majestic. What Majestic does is it gives us a summary of what is called the backlink profile. And a backlink is basically anywhere around the web where another website links back to your website. Now there's different types of backlinks, but I'm not gonna go into that in this video. I'll make a separate video. And just a caveat on that, I will make many videos going much deeper into depth on this entire strategy. So don't worry if you watch through to the end and you're like, okay, I still need to know some tutorials on how to do all this stuff, because we will cover all of that in greater depth as well. But as you can see here, we don't have a lot of trust flow. We have a decent amount of what's called citation flow, but basically the goal here with any website is to try to get this number and this number as close to a 1-to-1 ratio as possible. As you can see, it's 0/14. That's not great. And so we have a lot of work to do on that front as well. The next thing that we're going to audit is the Google Business Profile. When I search for the main keyword phrase, tree service, and I look through the map pack, which is all these businesses, and even if I were to click more businesses and scroll through the pages, he is pretty much nowhere to be found, at least in the top however many pages. I just stopped looking because he's nowhere to be found. So we got a lot of work to do on that front. Social media pages such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, not all of these are going to apply to every single business, but they may apply to the business of whatever you run watching this right now. You've got Apple Maps listing, blogs, and podcasts, right? So for my particular client, all we have going for us right now is this Facebook page, and the content looks really good. He's putting out reels, he's putting out shorts, things to try to get his brand out there. He's taking videos of jobs using the crane, the grapple hook, all sorts of things, and that is great. And so we just want to, get a baseline of what he's currently doing so that we can strategize on what we need to do to improve in all of these different areas so that we can build up. Again, every single channel is firing on all cylinders and we can generate traffic everywhere. We probably want, to look at any other social media accounts, which for this particular client, he does not have currently. So we will go ahead and move on to the paid assets side of things. So when it comes to paid assets, these are things like your Google local services ads, your Google PPC ads, your social media ads, which are more of your disruption advertising, like on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, those sorts of things. And then you've got your non-digital ads such as billboards, door hangers, flyers, newspaper. I'm sure we could go on and on the non-digital ad side of things. And then I put the referral program kind of in a category of its own. I think it is important for a company to have a referral program. And if there's anybody watching this right now that is performing these services for other people, you also want to ask about their referral program, because that's going to give you a good idea on how well their word of mouth is working, okay? So let's go ahead and look at Google local services ads. So the way we look at Google local services ads is you type in your main keyword phrase, just like I did on the other page when we were looking at the maps. And this right here is your Google local services ads. So we want to take a look at where they are currently placed. Now, the cool thing is that my client is actually already at number 5. And when I first started working with them 2 weeks ago, they were at number 11. And that was one of the first things that we started working on. I'll touch more on that here in a few minutes on how to go about that. So you want to get a good baseline there. Google PPC ads, are they running any Google PPC ads, or formerly known as AdWords, right? And if they are running ads, then are they running smart campaigns, or are they running expert mode campaigns? Those are two really big distinctions when it comes to Google ads. In the case of my client, they were not any other social media ads. Again, like I said, they did have a Facebook guy running ads. Now, if you ever want to look up somebody's Facebook ads, or if you even want to get inspiration for what other people in your industry are, like what their ads look like, you can actually, in a way, kind of spy on them, or just get, use the Facebook ads library, which I have pulled up on the screen here as a reference point to model. And all you do is you come into Facebook ads library, type in the name of the page. Now you can see here that there's no ads currently running because my client left the last guy that was running his ads and is now using me. But I did take a screenshot when I did the original audit, and you can see these are the types of ads that would have worked back in like 2014, 2015. But it's important to note that these things change all the time, and buyer behavior and prospect, right? Like human behavior changes all the time because of new things in technology, new social media platforms, all these different types of things. And so it's very important that you work with somebody who either is on top of things or has learned from somebody who's on top of things, right? I often see with a lot of clients that come over to our agency to work with us, as opposed to somebody else, they're leaving somebody who learned from either a professor or some sort of online coach. Nothing wrong with that by any means, but those online coaches or whatever, or professors learned things from a long time ago that worked a long time ago, but are not currently in the trenches doing this stuff. And so these ads, he got a decent amount of impressions, but it basically turned into no jobs. Another thing I'll point out too here is if you click this URL, this was taking any of the potential leads that found my client on Facebook. This was actually not driving the traffic to his website or any of his landing pages that he owned. They were actually driving traffic to a separate database that the Facebook ads manager guy owned. And so we don't know if anybody did opt in or called or anything. We have no idea. So very well, and I'm not painting this, I'm not saying this is what happened, but you never know. And so it's important to kind of get a good baseline for all of this kind of stuff, right? And last but not least, let's see, Google PC, social media, and non-digital, which he did not have. And so now that we have a good baseline of where we're at, and again, if you've never audited any of your stuff, like go through what I just showed you on my screen here and get an audit and a baseline of where you're currently at. And then now let's go ahead and show you how to build out all of the different channels so you can start generating leads on multiple fronts and not, like I said, have all of your eggs in one basket. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into that. All right, so as I mentioned, we need to roll out our multi-channel lead generation strategy in phases, okay? And so for this particular client, it was important that we start generating traffic right away. And they definitely had the budget to be able to start working on it. So what I decided to do was jump straight into some form of paid advertising, right? Now, again, we have two options. We can go with pay-per-click advertising, which is typically going to be through Google. And you also have disruption ad platforms. I call those disruption ads because it's usually when people are scrolling on their social media or doing something else, and then you're able to show them an ad, and so it kind of disrupts them, right? And those are things like Facebook and Instagram ads, might be TikTok or YouTube, and there's a myriad of other ones as well. So what I chose to do is to jump straight into Google Ads, and so I'm going to show you how we set up our first campaign. I am in here on my screen inside of a dummy account, and so when you first set up your Google Ads account, you're going to want to click, there's a blue plus and you click that blue plus and you come to this screen here when you click campaign. So I'm going to walk you through how to set up this Google Ads campaign for this tree service business in Nashville, Tennessee. So what we want to do is we want to come in here and choose our campaign objective as leads, okay? And from here, these conversion goals is what they're called, are going to be the default objectives, okay? And so what we'll do is we will just keep those and click continue, okay? And then it's going to ask you to select a campaign type. For this, we're going to click search. And what I like to do is check box the website visits and also the phone calls. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here to my website and grab the phone number of the business and plug that in here. And then I'm going to grab the URL and plug that in right here, okay? So I've got the website visits and the phone calls of how I'd like to reach my goal, and then I'd like to give it a campaign name. You wanna stay, somewhat consistent with your naming conventions. So what I like to do is, name of the business, and then I'm going to write whatever the campaign the main types of leads that we're trying to generate, and then the leads, which is kind of our goal here, right? Okay, so next it's going to ask us to set up our bidding. For this particular one, I always like to start with clicks to maximize for clicks. And then I also want to set a maximum cost per click bid limit because Google loves to spend your money. And so again, going to some of the reasoning why I chose to go with Google first is because we're able to constrict Google by setting up our campaigns this way to where we say, hey, Google, you cannot spend my money on any clicks or show my ads to any people unless they meet all of these different criterias. That's going to make it so that Google can't waste your budget on people who aren't going to be a highly likely candidate to turn into an actual lead, right? And the way that we're utilizing Google's platform is we're actually utilizing their massive database as a way to be able to say, hey, we want to only target people that behave a certain way on the internet, on your search engine, and so on and so forth. And that way we're actually able to use this to where if an unqualified prospect comes and clicks it, types in our keywords, that we do not show them an ad because they don't meet the criteria that we've set up. And that's kind of what I'm going to walk you through setting this up. So I like to start with anywhere of a 2 to 5 maximum CPC bid limit, $2 to $5. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and put $2.50 just to start out. And we can always raise this afterwards, okay? So again, we want to start with as much constrictions on Google as possible. And then if we start running our campaigns and we find that we're not getting any clicks, or worse, if we're not getting any impressions, that means just there's nobody seeing our ads, then we want to come back and change some of these campaign settings at a later time. But to start out, I recommend starting with a $2 to $5 maximum CPC bid limit, okay? There's this option down here that just started a while ago where you can bid for new customers only, but I'm not going to check mark that for right now. I'm just gonna click the blue next button, and when you come in here to these networks, I want you to uncheck the search network and the display network. That is a great way to waste your money. And so again, we're constricting Google as much as possible to start, and then we're opening it up as we go and as we're finding out which keywords are the best, okay? In here for locations, obviously we're targeting area, and so I wanna make sure and enter just a specific location. So you click this radial button right here, enter another location, and I'm going to type in, and you have two options here. You can use these Nielsen DMA regions or the actual just city. You can see we might reach a little bit more people here, and because my client is able to go to in the surrounding areas, I'm actually going to choose this one, but obviously you're going to target your own based off of wherever you're located, okay? I also want you to click this location options down here as well, and I want you to change this to people in or regularly in your targeted locations, because what this is going to do is it could make it so that people who are not in that location on a regular basis can actually get shown our ads, and that is not a very, again, quality prospect. So I want you to change it to that. That's gonna generate you better results. Select your language. I'm just gonna keep the English by by default, but if you're Spanish speaking or any other language speaking, or maybe you're in another country running Google Ads, you can change your language preferences based on there. For audience segments, what we want to do is, you can see here, I typically only target homeowners, because if we were to go browse and we wanted to look at these demographics, we could look at homeowners ownership status, and I do not want to target renters for my tree removal business, because renters aren't going to be the person who pays for tree removal, so I want to target just homeowners. Now you can get way more detailed in here if you wanted to, but for right now, I think just the homeownership status is perfectly fine. Now, right here, you have another option similar to above when we were looking at flipping the presence or interest versus presence, and it's called targeting versus observation. The recommended is observation, which allows it, to open up a little bit. But if you wanted to, again, get hyper specific, what that would do, and I don't mind, you could do either of these if you're only doing one audience segment for homeowners, and you can do targeting, because what that's going to do is it's basically going to make sure that the only people who see your ads make sure and meet this criteria of homeowners. So I'm fine with doing targeting for homeowners. Now, if I went in here and I added a big list of audience segments, then I would definitely want to do observation, because it would allow Google to spend it on any of those, and then I could narrow down my campaign at a later date. So I'm just going to leave it at targeting for right now. It's going to be, because we chose our campaign objective or to maximize for clicks right now, this is going to be default, and that's totally fine. You can open up your more settings if you want to, but we don't need to. So I'm just going to click next. Now in here, what it's going to do is it basically goes in and it crawls our homepage, and it comes up with all of these keywords that it suggests. Now, before I go into that, I want to rename my ad group, and you want to give it a relevant name. Okay, that's going to help with our campaign optimization. And then we can dive into these keywords. Okay, so it's showing all of these different keywords. Again, Google wants to spend your money as much as possible, and so it's going to suggest, hey, bid on all these keywords so we can take more money from you, right? And it's going to grow your business, but that's not always the best case. And you definitely want to segment your ad groups by service. So for this one, I'm going to do an ad group about tree removal, and the entire campaign is going to be about tree removal. But let's say I was going to do more on the campaign side, I was going to do tree service, then I would actually have individual ad groups about like tree removal, and then maybe stump removal or stump grinding, and then I would have like tree pruning, tree trimming in a separate ad group in that overarching campaign that was about tree service. Again, for this one, I only want to generate tree removal leads, because those are the most valuable to my client. So I'm going to come in here and actually take out some of these keywords that we are bidding on that do not include tree removal. So cutting edge tree service, we're not going to do that. Tree arborist, tree removal in my area is perfectly fine. Emergency tree removal and trimming services near me. Tree service is fine. Tree lopping, not going to do that. I'll get rid of that. You can also cannibalize your keywords too, so we don't want to do that. Emergency tree service is fine. Tree cutting company, no. Near me is fine. Emergency tree removal in my area, tree removal company near me. I feel like some of these are kind of redundant, but we don't want tree pruning because we would put that in a different ad group. All right, so I like these keywords right now, perfectly fine. And, obviously Google is going to suggest, hey, add some more keywords, because, again, they want to spend as much of your money as possible. That's how they get revenue. But we're trying to constrict it at the beginning, and then we can always add keywords down the road. Okay, so you don't need to do that. Now, right now, as the keywords don't have any sort of quotations or brackets around them, that is what we call a broad match keyword. And so what that means is that if anybody comes and searches any variation of these keyword phrases, that it will show them an impression, okay? So we actually don't want to do that. And so what I like to do is I like to start out in phrase match, okay? So the way you would do that is you would actually come in here and do the quotations, okay? Now, just for the sake of time, I'm actually not going to do it for right now. I'll leave them in broad match, but I can change it all at once after the campaign's already been created, okay? For right now, the ads side of things, I'm actually just going to skip, but basically just for the sake of time so we can get in with the rest of the strategy. But basically what you do is you come in here and you want to put in 15 headlines. And what this is that's what the ad is going to look like when somebody types in one of your keywords that allows you to show your ad at the top of the search results. And then you want to come in and create 4 descriptions. Right now there's 3 out of 4. You can change the default ones that they give you or just keep them. Totally fine either way. Again, right now I'm just going to go ahead and for the sake of time, just delete that, and then I'll click next. Now, if you look in here, it's saying, we recommend you spend $500 every single day. Now, unless you're somebody who has $500 a day to spend on ads, that's just 15 grand, I think, on the month. You're probably going to want to drop that down. So I'm going to say set custom budget, and you might say something like $100 a day, right? And this is going to change. You know, it's going to say weekly clicks. We're going to get 2,500. Your cost per click is going to be really low, and your weekly cost is going to be about $700. Now, totally depends on you and your budget. You could drop this all the way down to $20 based on those keywords. You know, and show what that is. You could go all the way up to, again, 500 or higher, right? It's always going to recommend that you spend more money, but just leave this at whatever you would like. I'll just leave it at 100 for right now, and then click next. And then this says a campaign with this name already exists, and that's because I already have a campaign going, but I wanted to show you how to create a Google ad. And so from here, what you do is, I mean, you'd have to, let's just do leads 2 just to give it a different name. And hopefully this is quick, but it should give us a publish button once we are ready. And you can just click publish the campaign. So I'll go ahead and actually publish it just so you can see what it looks like afterwards. And then afterwards, you're going to get to this dashboard. Let me just go ahead and go to the campaigns, and where's my existing one? Here we go. So here's the leads 2. This one's on pause, and I'm actually going to pause this one as well so it doesn't spend. I have his account set up in our main agency account. But anyways, so that is how you would set up a Google ad account. It's pretty simple. There's a lot of other things that we would do after the fact, like set up things like conversion tracking and doing any sort of custom things that we want to do so that we take up as much real estate on the top of the search results page as possible. But I will probably cover that in another tutorial video. For the sake of this, I wanted to show you, how to get Google ads going as fast as possible without doing a smart campaign. Don't do smart campaigns, because that is a great way to waste your money. Again, Google wants you to spend as much as possible. The goal of setting up an expert mode campaign is to constrict Google as much as possible, and then eventually loosen that constriction so that more leads can flow through to your business, and we can optimize it so that you can get as many leads as possible for as cheap as possible. At the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do, right? After you've got that set up, let's go ahead and show you how to set up Facebook ads, which would be the next phase of getting the next channel of marketing if you were going the paid advertising route. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. All right, so once you are in your Facebook ads manager here, I'm not gonna show you how to set up an account or anything. This video is already gonna be longer than what I was hoping for. I just wanna show you how to set up a quick, what we call a retargeting ad inside of Facebook. So I started the ad already with a little bit of data input here because I just want to walk you guys through it. But the first step is going to be setting up your campaign name, which I always like to do your campaign goal, the destination of where you're going to send people in the ad, and then the phase at which you are trying this out at. Okay, so for our phase for this one is going to be retargeting. The destination is going to be our website. Right? If you had a specific landing page or a funnel, you could send them there. And then the campaign goal is going to be leads. Okay. So next thing is you don't need to do anything as far as the special ad categories go unless you have political or other things. Just read those if that applies to you. For the campaign details, for the buying type, we want to choose auction, and then I always want to choose leads. There are other campaign objectives here. I'm not going to go through all of them again for the sake of time. I can do that in another video, but for right now, just to set up a very simple retargeting ad, we're just going to choose leads, and then you can keep these both toggled off. Then you're going to move into the ad set creation. Okay, so this right here is our campaign creation, our ad set creation, and then the ads at the end. Very similar to the Google ads with the campaigns, ad groups, and ads. Okay, so what I like to do here for the ad set is I like to type in what audience we're targeting and then where the geolocation is. Okay, and for every business is going to be different. If you're a local business, you're going to have a geolocation that's just your local area. If you're more of a worldwide or nationwide business, then you might target with a particular ad a certain part of the United States or the country, and the audience could be different every single time too. I'm actually not going to name this right now. I want to walk you through the rest of this first, and we'll come back up and do the name after this, and I'll show you why. For the conversion, like I said, up here, our destination is the website. So we want to send our conversion location to the website, okay? And we'll input the URL later. And then for the performance goal, maximize for the number of conversions. For the pixel, this is things that tracks users on your website. And I'm gonna talk about how to set this up here after we're done setting up this Facebook ad. But so just put a pin in that for right now, but you'll just select this pixel once you've created it. The conversion event is going to be a lead. Dynamic creative, I like to keep off. For the daily budget, the default is always going to be $20. But the cool thing about these retargeting ads is you can do these for super cheap. You could do it for $2 a day. You could do it for $1 a day if you wanted to. You could do it for $5 a day, depending on how much traffic you're getting. Now, because this is a retargeting ad, if we scroll all the way down here, you can see, for the schedule, I just start it, same day or day after, whatever. And then you can choose this. You could start it earlier in the day if you wanted to, and then leave the end date unchecked because you can actually manually go and turn these ads off whenever you want if they're not performing super well. But because they're retargeting, honestly, these are very, very, again, they're very cheap because we're retargeting, and I'll show you this here in a second. We're only retargeting people that are in this location. So I chose a 20-mile radius from the city and then left all this the same. And if you see here, custom audiences, I had previously set up a custom audience called website visitors, okay? So what that means is that I'm telling Facebook right now that the only way that I want them to show this ad, this campaign that I'm creating, is to only people who have visited my website. This is how we start to get this omnipresent multi-channel marketing system to work, is we follow our users around the internet, right? And so this is what that comes down to. So our custom audience is going to be website visitors, and then our location, our geolocation is going to be, so now I'm going to come up and rename my audience to website visitors, and then the geolocation is going to be, all right, so now let's go back down to the rest of this. For placements, by default, everything on here is going to be checked. So Instagram, Messenger, and the audience network, and then all of these, it's all checked. They want you to give them, similar to Google, right? They want to spend your money. So what you want to do is uncheck all of these and only do, in my opinion, I mean, you can check these if you want to put your ad on any of these placements, but I like to just do the Facebook newsfeed because that's the place where people, are scrolling and see an ad, and if they're, again, our ads are going to show up on their phones or their desktops after they've already visited our website. So that's where we want it to be, right? You are going to get a little notification somewhere that says, oh, your cost per result might be higher for targeting such a low amount of people. For these devices, you can leave them as only when connected to Wi-Fi. I just click no. You could change that if you wanted to, but for this one, I just leave it as no. And then for everything else, that's good. Now, moving on to the ad portion, we're going to name our ad by the picture or the video. So I already loaded a picture of my client in here cutting down a tree. So I could put, giant tree pic or something like that. If you had a video, you would want to name the video, just something for you to be able to identify what the creative is. Okay. And then, for right now, I'm just going to show you how to create one picture ad, but the idea is that you could create as many creatives underneath this ad set as possible. You can also create more ad sets that target different audiences and geolocations as well. So if I wanted to go hyper targeted certain parts of where I did a 5-mile radius in one pocket, 5-mile radius in another pocket, 5-mile radius in another pocket. I could do that all under, one campaign, right? There's a ton of ways to customize these things, but again, I'm just trying to show you how to set up a simple retargeting. You choose your Facebook page here. If you're not choosing Instagram placements, you don't need an Instagram account. Ad setup, create ad, manually upload. I already uploaded it. The format is a single image or video. You can also do things like carousels, collections, but I won't get into that right now. Multi-advertiser ads. I can't remember. This is kind of a newer thing. Incremental purchases grew for business using multi-advertisers measured by adding. I'm just going to uncheck this for now. Ad creative, you can see here like what it would look like for the different placements, but since we're only doing feeds, it's only going to be looking like the one thing. And then here's where you can put in your ad copy. I'm not going to sit here and do the headline, description, all that kind of stuff for you guys right now, but then the call to action is going to be learn more, and then you're going to put your website URL right here of which page you want to send the visitors to, right? And then for tracking, this is already going to be done because you have your pixel set up. Again, I'll show that to you here in a second. But then after all of this was done, you would click this publish button, and then what's going to happen is in this delivery status, you would say it would say in review, and then from there, what's going to happen is once Facebook reviews and makes sure that you're good, you're not making any outrageous claims and all that kind of stuff, then you are going to basically have your ads running. And again, the point is for that simple retargeting ad that I just showed you how to set up, right? The leads, website retargeting. This may not spend and this may not work. You do, for your custom audience, you do need at least 100 people in your custom audience. So at the very beginning, if you haven't had 100 people visit your website since setting up your tracking pixels, it's not actually going to show to anybody at that time, okay? So you have to have at least 100 site visitors since you've put your tracking pixels, which is what we're going to cover next, on. And then by doing so, that audience starts to get created, and then we can start delivering these retargeting ads. Now, if you're a company watching this right now and you get a lot of website visitors and you don't have your tracking pixels set up, you're going to want to definitely pay attention to this next part, because that's what we're going to be diving into. And it's super important for things like retargeting, because as you can see, $5 a day to target your website visitors. Again, $5 times 30 days, that's $150 a month. Imagine being able to follow all your website visitors around for $150 a month. That's nothing. You get, one job out of that, and it pays for itself 10 times over, right? So anyways, that's it for the how to set up a Facebook retargeting campaign. So now we're going to jump into how to create some of these tracking pixels, because that's the next very important part of how to set up this multi-channel lead gen strategy. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about tracking pixels. Now, again, for the sake of the length of the video, this will be a pretty high-level overview of what it is, but right now I am actually inside of Google Tag Manager, which the cool thing about Tag Manager is the way you can understand this is you create what is called a container, and then you install that container. You can fill that container with whatever type of tracking pixels that you want, and then you can take that container and input it on your website or landing page. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I don't have access to my client's website yet, the one that's currently exists. I'll probably end up rebuilding it on this platform. So I actually just created a landing page to send all of the traffic to that is hooked up to the CRM that he will be getting all of the leads in. So you can kind of see that here. So I'll kind of be bouncing back and forth on some of these tabs here, but to kind of show you what to set up, and I'm not going to go over every single one of these, but the bare minimum that we want to set up for what we've done so far is anything for Google Ads and anything for the Facebook pixel. And the reason why is because by setting these tracking pixels up inside of Tag Manager and then putting Tag Manager on your website so that these platforms, Google and Facebook, can start to observe the people that are landing on your pages, is because what we're basically going to be doing inside of the Ads Manager as we're optimizing for conversions later on is we're telling Google and telling Facebook, hey, this person who behaves a certain way on your platform ended up becoming a lead, right? So what I want you to do, right, what we're telling these platforms to do in unlocking these massive databases of information is saying, hey, I want to make sure that my ads are getting shown to the people who behave similarly to these people, right? That's what essentially we're doing, right? Because at the end of the day, we could blast out as many ads as we wanted to cold audiences, the people who have no idea who we are, what we offer, what we do, but that's just about as useful as signing up for like billboard advertising, right? Potentially even worse, right? So we want to find a way to utilize as much of this stuff as possible. So let's go ahead and show you what you would need to do here. So inside of your Google Ads account under tools, there's this option right here for the Google tag, right? So right now, because this is a brand new dummy account to show you guys how to do this, it just says untitled tag. So you could come in here and click it, and then you would give it a name, and then these are going to be your destination IDs. What you would then do is come in, you would click new tag, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Here's the Google tag. Then you would put the tag ID inside of here. And for the triggering, we want this to fire on all of our pages, okay? And the reason why we want that is because, again, we're going to be sending that information back to Google, okay? Another thing that you're going to want to set up is a conversion linker, okay? And that is very simple. You just give it a name, Google Ads conversion linker, and then you choose the tag type. When you come in here, if you were to click edit, come over here, choose the conversion linker option. This will pull up. You don't need to check any of these options, and you do not need to do any of the advanced settings. And then for trigger, you want that to be on all pages as well. So now the Google tag and the conversion linker are going to be working together, and they're firing on all of your pages, okay? Now, to take it a step further, we want to set up what's called conversion tracking. And so if you come over here to my website, I want to track people who call this phone number, and I want to make sure and send people who go from the Google platform, the search engine, to this page, land on it, and then call the number at the top. I want to report that back as a conversion to my Google Ads platform so I can start to see that data, but then again, so that conversion can be recorded, and we can again optimize for conversions where we're telling Google to go find more people who behave similarly to the person who just clicked on this number, right? So that's what we did with this Google Ads conversion tracking, where we said phone call button clicks. If you click this, again, you would click new tag. You're creating a new tag for each one of these. I'm just showing you how we have it set up. If you were to click the little pencil icon, and here you would choose the Google Ads, and then it's going to give you well, it's going to input it here as far as the tag type. You put in your conversion ID, okay, and then your conversion. It's going to give it a unique. Each conversion ID has a conversion label, okay, and then you would trigger it on the phone number button clicks, okay. And then for the thank you page, this is where everybody who submits on my site here, everybody who submits this form with their first name, last name, what do you need a quote for, what types of trees, and what number will you be doing. Every time someone clicks submit, they're redirected to my thank you page, which it's not indexed or anything like that. And so the only way that people can land on that conversion or the thank you page is if they know the URL exactly, or if they submitted a thing. So we can assume that when people view the thank you page, that the only reason they were able to get there was because they turned into a lead. So we're actually gonna submit those back to Google as well as a lead. And then as far as your Facebook pixel goes, when you come in here to your Meta Business Suite, make sure and choose your business that you have set up. Go to the business settings. It used to be stored under pixels. I have no idea. It's grayed out now, and it says data set creation. Again, this is kind of another thing here where you would come to data sets and you would click add, and let me see what happens here. So you'd want to name your thing. I'm not going to go through and create it since I already have a pixel set up, but again, Facebook and Google, I mean, they're going to change the user interface on you guys all the time. So you do have to kind of know where things are, but to basically a very brief rundown is your data sources are going to be where the data, like anything data related with pixels, is going to be found in the data sources. Okay, so once you have your pixel ID, which mine is found right here, make sure I'll blur that out in editing, but you're going to come in here and you're going to select. Now there is not a there's not a, what do I want to call it? A pre-done tag by Google. Sorry, that's not it. There's not like one of these like featured tags or anything like that inside here. So there is a gallery where if you scroll to the bottom or somewhere at the top where it says, oh, discover more tag types in the community template gallery. So there is a Facebook pixel one where all you actually need is your pixel ID, or you could grab inside of your pixel, there's actually the installation instructions for the there's what's called a tracking snippet that you could come in and do a custom HTML tag as well. There's two different ways that you could do that. And then the standard event that we're signing up for is a page view for this tag. You can basically leave everything else the same, and we're gonna fire that on all pages, okay? And so once we have that installed, what that allows us to do is that allows us to, again, we are sending the data back if we have one of those retargeting ads, right, that retargeted a customer that ended up leading to a conversion and they land on our thank you page, right, which we have set up on actually in the Meta Business Suite. Again, I'm not going to go super in depth into all this stuff. It would I'd be here for a few days probably, just explaining and going into depth on how to do all of it. But anyways, the moral of the story is, by having these tracking pixels on your landing page website, right, what it's going to do is it's going to start tracking the users, and it's going to start doing two things. It's going to start sending you data so that you know that, hey, I just spent, let's take the scenario from a few minutes ago, $150 this month on ads, on retargeting ads, and it led to X amount of leads. That's a good number to know, how much you're spending, right? Those are numbers you need to know as a business owner, right? And then on the other side of things, it's going to maximize our results and lower our cost per result across all ad platforms by sending the data back to Google and Facebook and any other ad platform this can work for. Like if you wanted to go start advertising on LinkedIn, you go to the LinkedIn platform and you set up an ads manager account and you take their snippet code and you can install that as a tag on your inside of your tag manager, right? If you wanted to advertise on Pinterest or Snapchat or Twitter or any ad platform, TikTok, you go take their snippets, you input them on your tag manager, and then the way that you put your, let's see, it's an ad, if you go to the way that you put your Google tag inside of your website, there's a couple of different ways depending on what platform you're using. So if you go to the admin tab here, you go to the install Google Tag Manager snippet. So what you would do is you would actually copy this, you just copy this to your clipboard, and then you could come over into your website builder. For example, for those using WebPro, well, I had to do the Facebook domain verification here. Actually, I can delete this. I'll save that. But you would actually come in and paste that snippet of code in here into the head. As you can see, I don't have it in here. So you might be wondering, well, Zach, why don't you have your Google tag installed? Because inside of the WebPro platform, which is built on the backbone of Duda, they have this handy dandy thing where you can actually just take your measurement ID right here, or your Google tag ID, and then all you do is you come in to the settings, you go to your Google Tools tab, and you can see there's my Google Tag Manager ID right here, okay? And that's what allows you to, that's all you need. You don't need to do anything with code, so it's a no-code way to be able to install your Google Tag on your site. Now, the other thing, if you want to go a step further, just a little bonus, is if you want to create a Google Analytics account, you can create that. I did install this so that it has started to report just for the landing page only. This isn't for my client's website because, again, we're going to be rebuilding that. But this gives you further details into like the views by page, how long the sessions were, which country views are coming from. So you can see there's been 2 views from China, 2 views from India. Like obviously those people are finding my page, but probably because they have some sort of a web scraper or something like that, but they're not coming from any sort of like, more than likely search engine or anything like that, right? And so you can see some more detailed reports that way as well, which is very good for what we call conversion rate optimization. That's something that we could tackle on, again, a completely other video. But the idea is, let's say you install Google Analytics on your page, on your website, and you find that people are landing on your page, but they are not staying on your page. They're bouncing, right? So either they're not finding the right information, or maybe you have some visual elements and some design issues where maybe your website looks super outdated. Maybe it looks like it's not a legit company. Maybe the branding is off. I don't know, right? There's different things that can happen. And so by having this data, you can start to make little tweaks here and there to maybe the website copy, maybe the visual elements, whatever it might be, to keep people that land on your site around a little bit longer, and so on and so forth, right? So it all flows together, right? So this whole strategy that I'm sharing with you, it all flows together, okay? And just to touch on the kind of the last, I guess I wouldn't say the last thing for this client, because there's more stuff, but we don't have it planned to go over in this video. But the last thing that we can start to tackle now, or the next thing to start to tackle, is the organic side of things. So if you guys remember our site audit, where we went over all of the organic assets that they have and all of the paid assets that they have, now we implemented our paid strategy, right? And then now it's time to start working on the organic simultaneously. So I'm going to be having our website designer and our content writer, the person who works on our SEO, start to build out the website and make it the correct way, right? Again, I'm not going to dive into all of those elements right now. We can do that at a separate time. But basically, what we'll have at the end of this is we're going to have all of our organic assets optimized. Okay, so that includes our website, includes our Google Business Profile listing. It includes all of our social medias. If there aren't any created for the website or for our business, then we need to create those social media profiles and figure out a way to start posting on those in some sort of a regular fashion, right? Give the internet, give everything, give your customers a reason to do business with you, right? Earn their trust, have them look at you as an expert or somebody that can solve their problem, right? And then we're going to have this paid strategy, right? Which again, I like to start out primarily with Google PPC ads, because I can constrict Google and make sure that they're not wasting my budget unnecessarily. And as I start to see some winning keywords, I can start to loosen those bands of restriction a little bit. All the while, I'm using the retargeting pixels to be able to retarget on some of the disruption ad platforms. I showed you how to set up a Facebook ad, but you could set up a very similar one on TikTok, YouTube, which is done through the Google Ads platform as well, and all that kind of, all those sorts of things. And so again, going back to the very beginning that I said I was going to show you how to set up this lead gen strategy, is imagine where somebody lands on your website because they need XYZ done. So they went to the search engine, they typed in, like tree service contractor near me or tree removal arborist near me, whatever. They land on your website, but then they get distracted, right? So they didn't call, they didn't submit a lead form or anything like that. They get distracted because life happens, and our attention span ever goes down all the time, right? And now we're able to set up these very cheap retargeting ads on other platforms that our users, we know they use, right? Everybody uses social media. And now we're able to target them around the internet so that they remember, oh yeah, I was gonna call these guys, or oh yeah, I was gonna submit a lead form, or just the sheer fact that you're following them around the internet builds that trust, builds that authority and that expert presence, because that's just kind of the human psychology behind it, right? So that kind of sums up this whole strategy. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go over to the board, and I'm going to show you what we've built out and further illustrate to you guys how powerful this is. Okay, so let's go ahead and head over there. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and break down this multi-channel lead gen system that we have now set up, okay? And what this consists of is three main components of our framework. The first step of the framework is we want to capture hot leads. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna build massive presence, which is going to help us with step number 3, which is the ongoing omnipresence. So let me break this down for you real quick. So as far as capturing hot leads goes, what we're gonna do is when these people out here that our product or service solves the problem of, they're gonna go to the Google search bar typically, right? Because Google is a professional question answering machine. And they're gonna type in something like, home services contractor near me, concrete contractor, It could be a dental, it could be a lawyer, whatever it is, right? And they're going to type that into the search bar, which shows us that they are a hot lead because they're showing what's called buyer intent, okay? And we want to make sure that we have assets set up there in order to capture those hot leads, okay? Now, this is one that I didn't really talk about too much in this video. I'll be sure to make videos on this later on, but this is called Google Local Services Ads. That's what gives you the Google Guaranteed badge and allows you to show up on the very, very top of search engines. Then you've got things like we set up the Google ad campaign, right? Which allows you to show up top here as well, and you pay for those keywords in order to show up there. And then you've got your other assets like the Maps listing, right? That's another place that you can capture these hot leads, and your organic listing right here is the number one of the organic listings. So the breakdown of the search engine results page, if you don't know what that is any time someone types something in the search bar, you're gonna see ads first, then maps listings, typically, not all the time, and then you're gonna start seeing the organic search results, okay? And for a long time, this was the only place that I lived with my agency and with my own lead gen assets. And so what I've started to do differently is adding in these other two parts of the system. So now let's talk about building out massive presence. How do we do that? Well, like I showed you, that comes down to these tracking codes that we are putting on our website, okay? And that allows us to build out this large presence online, this large footprint, and we're able to capture the people who came to our website but maybe didn't convert into a lead quite yet, okay? So there's gonna be a group of people that don't buy from us, right? And the bigger our presence is and the more systems and channels of lead gen that we have set up, the more we're gonna be able to turn those people into buyers and clients as well, okay? Another part of building out this massive presence is going to be creating our social media pages, okay, for organic posts that we can post over time. And if you want to take it a step further, you could even take your organic content and put money on that. Again, I'm not going to talk about that a whole lot right now, but that is the way that we build out massive presence. And then the last step of the framework is the ongoing omnipresence. And that's the day-to-day work, the day-to-day grind that we do to this massive system that we've built out in order to continue to improve our organic rankings with our website, to improve our maps listing rankings so that we can show up higher and higher in the map pack, so we can rank our Google services ads, and also discover the keywords that are performing well and taking more money from the keywords that are not performing as well and putting that budget onto the keywords that are performing well. It's things like adding blog posts. It's things like adding social media pages, posts. And it's things like running paid advertising. And the best part about this is because we've set up these tracking codes, what we're allowed to do is with our paid ads, we can now target people we can just target this group of people down here where they're the ones that had the problem. They found our website or one of our search intent-based assets, and they fell through because they didn't turn into a lead, right? And so we can set up another channel, like I showed you guys, to target just those website visitors, right? And there's all sorts of other strategies we can do along with this as well. We've got things such as email where we can follow up with these guys. We've got things like text messages. Whoops, I think I bumped my screen here. We've got things like text messages. These are both another channel of lead gen that we can use. We've got things like organic advertising that can push people to our website and landing pages that we've set up as well. And so at the end of the day, guys, what this is about, again, capturing the hot leads and making sure the ones that didn't turn into buyers, we can continue to have this ongoing omnipresence, so we can continue to turn more and more people that interact with our brand and find our website into clients and buyers. All right, guys. Well, thanks for bearing with me this long. And if you're watching this, I want to thank you for watching this video all the way through. Now, if you're a business owner watching this right now and you need help with your lead generation and want us to implement a system like this for your business, be sure to check out the links in the description where you can contact my agency, Lead Goats, and we will get on a call with you, see where you're at, what you have built out so far, fill in the gaps, and figure out a way for you to start generating leads on multiple different streams. If you're an agency agency owner watching this and you need ways to be able to serve your clients at a higher level, be sure to check out the description as well. We got some links with some free goodies and things that you can do down there. Join our free Facebook group where we talk about these skills and how to develop them and implement them all of the time. And if you have any questions about anything that I talked about in this video, be sure to leave a comment below. I'll be looking through the comments and seeing what videos I need to create next. And with that, I will see you guys in our next video.